The silence of the mansion was deafening. Kang Dae-won adjusted his Italian shirt cuffs as he walked through the empty white marble corridors. Family portraits had been removed 2 years ago, leaving only rectangular shadows on the walls, ghosts of a happiness that no longer existed. At 3 p.m., like every day for the past 7:30 days, he descended the mahogany stairs toward Moonlight Cafe in downtown Seattle. His men followed at a respectful distance, knowing this ritual was sacred and untouchable. The cafe was nearly empty, as always at this hour. Dae-won headed to the corner table, table 7, and made the same order he'd made for 2 years. 2 American coffees, please. The nervous waitress brought the steaming cups. He drank the first slowly, savoring the bitterness that matched his soul. The second cup sat untouched, steam rising like prayers to heaven, a symbol of hope that someday someone would join him again. Today would be different. Today, everything would change. The rain drummed against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Moonlight Cafe as Dae-won sat in his usual spot, staring at the untouched coffee cup across from him. Steam curled upward like the ghosts that haunted his dreams. Yoona, his beloved wife, and Minho, his 4-year-old son with chubby cheeks and infectious laughter. 2 years, 3 months, and 15 days since the accident. He counted every sunrise without them. The cafe's afternoon crowd was thin, a few college students typing on laptops, an elderly man reading a newspaper, and the usual baristas who knew better than to disturb the man in the expensive suit who always sat alone. Dae-won's phone buzzed. A text from Jin-woo, his right-hand man. "Boss, the shipment from Busan arrived early. Need your approval." He typed back curtly, "Handle it." Business had become mechanical since the accident. The Korean organization he led in Seattle's underground ran smoothly, but it felt hollow. Money, power, respect, none of it mattered when you returned to an empty mansion every night. The cafe door chimed, and Dae-won glanced up out of habit. A young black woman entered, shaking raindrops from her coat. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her beautiful brown eyes, her natural hair pulled back in a messy bun. Behind her, a small hand clutched her coat. "Come on, baby," the woman whispered gently, "just for a little while until the rain stops." A little girl emerged from behind her mother's legs, maybe 5 or 6 years old, with the most expressive dark eyes Dae-won had ever seen. She wore a bright yellow raincoat that was too big for her tiny frame, and her hair was styled in neat braids with colorful beads that clicked softly when she moved. The woman, clearly the child's mother, approached the counter with careful steps. Dae-won couldn't help but notice how she counted coins in her palm before ordering. "1 hot chocolate, please," she said quietly. "The small size." The barista, a young man with kind eyes, smiled. "That'll be $3.50. The woman's face fell slightly as she recounted her coins. I'm sorry, I thought it was $3. Could I get just hot water with a little milk instead?" The little girl tugged on her mother's coat. "Mama, I'm not that cold. We don't need anything." Dae-won's chest tightened. The child's selflessness reminded him painfully of Minho, who used to share his toys with every kid at the playground. Before he could stop himself, Dae-won stood and walked to the counter. "Add their order to my bill," he told the barista quietly, "and make it a large hot chocolate with extra marshmallows." The woman turned, startled. "Oh, sir, that's very kind, but we couldn't—" "Please," Dae-won interrupted gently. "It's no trouble." The little girl looked up at him with curious eyes. She studied his face for a long moment, then tilted her head. "Sir, are you sad?" The question hit him like a physical blow. Adults never asked him that. They were too afraid, too intimidated by his reputation and presence. But this child saw straight through his carefully constructed walls. "Zoe," her mother whispered, embarrassed. "That's not polite to ask." But Dae-won knelt down to the little girl's eye level, something he hadn't done since Minho died. "It's okay, and yes, little one, I'm a bit sad today." Zoe's face scrunched up in concern. She looked at her mother, then back at Dae-won, then at his table where 2 coffee cups sat, one empty, one full. "Are you waiting for someone?" she asked. "Is that why you have 2 cups?" Dae-won's throat constricted. Yes, I suppose I am waiting for someone." Zoe's face brightened with the innocent wisdom that only children possess. "We could sit with you if you want. Mama says nobody should eat alone. It makes the food taste sad." "Zoe, honey," her mother said quickly, "I'm sure this gentleman is busy." "Actually," Dae-won found himself saying, "I would like that very much." The woman, He learned her name was Amara, looked uncertain, but followed as Daewon led them to his table. She was clearly nervous, probably sensing something dangerous about him but unable to pinpoint what. As they sat down, Zoe immediately noticed the untouched coffee. "Why didn't your friend come today?" Daewon stared at the cup, his usual practiced answers dying in his throat. "My friend can't come anymore, but I keep hoping maybe someday." "Oh." Zoe's eyes lit up with understanding. "Like when Daddy went to heaven. Mama still sets his place at dinner sometimes." Amara's face flushed. "Zoe, It's all right," Daewon said softly. He looked at Amara with new understanding. "I'm sorry for your loss." "And I'm sorry for yours," she replied, her voice gentle. For the first time in 2 years, Daewon felt truly seen by another adult. Not feared, not respected, not obeyed, just seen. Zoe chattered happily as she drank her hot chocolate, telling Daewon about her favorite books and how she wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up, because animals need doctors too, and I think they're probably scared when they're sick, so someone should be extra nice to them. Daewon found himself smiling, actually smiling for the first time since the accident. "That's a very noble goal, Zoe. What do you do for work?" she asked with the directness of childhood. Daewon glanced at Amara, who was watching him carefully. "I help people with their business problems." "That sounds important," Zoe said solemnly. "Do you like helping people?" The question was so innocent, yet it cut to the core of everything wrong with his life. When had he stopped helping people and started controlling them? When had protection become intimidation? "I used to," he answered honestly. As the afternoon wore on, Daewon learned that Amara was a nurse who had recently moved to Seattle for a new job at Children's Hospital. They were staying in a small apartment while she saved money for a better place. She was kind, intelligent, and clearly devoted to her daughter. "We should go," Amara said eventually, noticing the rain had stopped. "Thank you again for the hot chocolate. That was incredibly generous." As they prepared to leave, Zoe turned back to Daewon. "Will you be here tomorrow? Maybe your friend will come then." Daewon's heart clenched. "I'll be here." "Good," Zoe beamed. "If your friend doesn't come, we can keep you company again." "Right, Mama?" Amara looked uncertain, but nodded. If you'd like that." After they left, Daewon sat alone with the 2 coffee cups. But for the first time in 730 days, the second cup didn't feel like a memorial to the dead. It felt like a promise to the living. He pulled out his phone and called Jin Woo. "Cancel my evening meetings. I want to do some research." "Research on what, boss?" Daewon watched through the window as Amara and Zoe walked down the street, the little girl skipping beside her mother. "Children's Hospital. I want to know everything about their funding, their needs, their problems. Everything." The next afternoon, Daewon arrived at Moonlight Cafe 30 minutes early. He'd barely slept, his mind replaying every moment of the previous day. The sound of Zoe's laughter, the gentle strength in Amara's voice, the way they'd made him feel human again. He ordered his usual 2 coffees and waited. At 3:15, the cafe door chimed. Zoe burst through first, her yellow raincoat replaced by a bright purple jacket. She spotted Daewon immediately and waved enthusiastically. "You came back," she called out, causing several patrons to turn and stare. Amara followed more slowly, looking embarrassed, but offering Daewon a shy smile. "I hope we're not intruding. Zoe insisted we check if you needed company again." "I was hoping you'd come," Daewon admitted, standing to pull out chairs for them. As they settled in, Zoe noticed something new on the table, a small wrapped package beside the coffee cups. "What's that?" she asked curiously. Daewon felt suddenly nervous. "It's on for you if your mother says it's okay." Amara looked wary. "Sir, you've already been so kind. Please call me Daewon," he interrupted gently. "And it's nothing expensive. I just thought—" Zoe looked at her mother with pleading eyes. Amara sighed and nodded. Inside the package was a small stuffed animal, a golden retriever puppy with soft fur and kind eyes. "Oh," Zoe gasped, clutching the puppy to her chest. "He's perfect. What's his name?" "That's for you to decide," Daewon said softly. "Sunny," Zoe declared immediately, "because he's golden like sunshine, and he makes me feel happy like sunshine does." Daewon's throat tightened. Minho had named his toys the same way, with pure innocent logic that made perfect sense. "That's a beautiful name." he managed. As Zoe played with Sunny, Amara studied Daewon carefully. You're very good with children. Do you have kids of your own? The question he'd been dreading. I had a son, Minho. He was 4. Had? Amara's voice was gentle. Car accident. 2 years ago. He and my wife. Daewon couldn't finish. Amara reached across the table and briefly touched his hand. I'm so sorry, I can't imagine. How do you do it? Daewon asked suddenly. Raise her alone? Keep going when everything feels impossible? Amara was quiet for a moment. Some days I don't know how. But she needs me to be strong, so I find a way. And honestly, she saves me more than I save her. Children have this amazing ability to find joy in the smallest things. They remind you that life is still worth living. Daewon watched Zoe making the stuffed puppy walk across the table, complete with sound effects. Yes, they do. What kind of business are you in? Amara asked. You seem, I don't know, like someone important. Daewon chose his words carefully. Import and export. I help Korean businesses establish themselves in Seattle. It wasn't entirely a lie. His organization did facilitate business, just not the legal kind. That sounds fascinating. Seattle has such a vibrant Korean community. Yes, it does. What about you? How are you finding the city? Amara's smile faltered slightly. It's an adjustment. The job at Children's Hospital is wonderful, but everything is so expensive here. We're managing, but just barely. Daewon made a mental note. Jinwoo's research had revealed that Amara was indeed a registered nurse, recently hired at Children's Hospital. She had no criminal record, no concerning associations. She was exactly what she appeared to be, a good mother trying to build a better life for her daughter. Mama, Zoe interrupted, can we show Daewon the pictures? Pictures? Daewon asked. Amara looked embarrassed but pulled out her phone. Zoe drew some pictures for you. I told her you might not want them, but she insisted. The drawings were typical child art, stick figures and bright colors. But they showed 3 people sitting at a table with coffee cups and smiles. One figure had black hair and was labeled Daewon. One had curly hair and was labeled Mama. The smallest figure had braids and was labeled Me. This is us being friends, Zoe explained proudly. And look, I drew Sunny too. Indeed, a small golden blob sat next to the Me figure. Daewon stared at the drawing, his vision blurring slightly. It's beautiful, Zoe, thank you. You can keep it. Mama says when you give someone a picture, it means you want to be their friend forever. Forever is a long time, Daewon said softly. That's okay, Zoe said matter-of-factly. I'm good at being friends forever. I was friends forever with Daddy, and even though he's in heaven now, we're still friends. So I can be friends forever with you too. The simple logic of childhood struck Daewon like lightning. Love didn't end with death. It transformed, but it endured. As they talked, Daewon found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't in years. Amara was intelligent and funny, with a quick wit that kept him engaged. She spoke passionately about her work with sick children, her dedication evident in every word. The kids at the hospital are so brave, she was saying. They face things that would terrify adults, but they still find reasons to smile. Yesterday, a little boy with leukemia taught me how to make a paper airplane. He said it was important because planes help dreams fly. Wise words, Daewon murmured. Children see the world differently. They haven't learned to be afraid of hope yet. The observation hit him deeply. When had he become afraid of hope? Their conversation was interrupted by Daewon's phone buzzing insistently. He glanced at it and frowned. Jinwoo was calling, which meant something urgent. Excuse me one moment, he said, stepping away to answer. Boss, we have a problem. Jinwoo's voice was tense. The Yamamoto family is making moves on our territory. They hit 2 of our businesses this morning. Daewon's blood chilled. The Yamamoto family was a rival Japanese organization that had been testing boundaries for months. Anyone hurt? No casualties, but they left a message. They want a meeting. Set it up. Neutral ground. Tomorrow night. Boss, this could be a trap. I know what it could be. Just set it up. Daewon returned to the table, his demeanor subtly changed. Amara noticed immediately. Everything okay? Work issue. Nothing serious. But Zoe, with the intuition of childhood, studied his face. You look worried now. Did someone make you sad again? Just business, little one. Nothing for you to worry about. As they prepared to leave, Zoe hugged her stuffed puppy tight. Daewon, will you be here tomorrow? Daewon thought about the meeting with the Yamamoto family, the potential for violence, the dangerous world he lived in. I'll try, Zoe. Promise? She insisted. Looking into her trusting eyes, Daewon made a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. I promise. After they left, Daewon sat alone with his thoughts. For 2 hours, he'd forgotten about territory wars and rival families. He'd forgotten about the loneliness that ate at him every night. He'd felt like a man instead of a weapon. But now reality crashed back. His world was dangerous, violent, unpredictable. What right did he have to bring innocent people into it? His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Thank you for being so kind to Zoe. She hasn't stopped talking about her new friend, Amara. Daewon stared at the message for a long time before responding. Thank you for reminding me what kindness looks like. The response came quickly. See you tomorrow? Daewon typed and deleted several responses before settling on, I'll be here. But as he left the cafe, he couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow might change everything, and not necessarily for the better. The meeting with the Yamamoto family had gone worse than expected. Daewon sat in his car outside Moonlight Cafe at 2:45 p.m., his knuckles still raw from the negotiation that had turned violent. The Yamamoto family wanted his shipping routes, his contacts, his territory. They'd made it clear that refusal meant war. He'd refused. Now, as he stared at the cafe through his windshield, Daewon questioned everything. Was he being selfish, putting innocent people in danger just because he craved their company? Amara and Zoe had no idea what kind of man he really was, what kind of world he lived in. His phone buzzed. Jinwoo. Boss, we need to increase security. The Yamamoto family has eyes everywhere. Daewon typed back. Double the perimeter. And Jinwoo? I want background checks on everyone who works at Children's Hospital, especially the nursing staff. You think they'll target the hospital? I think they'll target anything that matters to me. The implication of his own words hit him like a punch. Amara and Zoe mattered to him. When had that happened? At exactly 3 p.m. he walked into the cafe. Zoe was already there, sitting at their usual table with Sunny the stuffed puppy, coloring in a book. She looked up and beamed. Daewon, you kept your promise. But her smile faded when she saw his face. You look hurt. Did you get in a fight? Amara looked up from her coffee, immediately noticing the small cut on his lip and the tension in his shoulders. Are you all right? I'm fine, Daewon said, sitting down carefully. Just a business disagreement. Zoe reached across the table and patted his hand with her small one. Mama says when people fight, it's usually because they're scared of something. What are you scared of? The question was so direct, so innocent, that Daewon found himself answering honestly. I'm scared of losing people I care about. Is that why you keep the extra coffee cup? Because you're scared your friend won't come back. Daewon looked at the untouched cup, then at Zoe's earnest face. Yes, I suppose it is. But your friend is already gone, right? To heaven like my daddy? Yes. Zoe considered this with the seriousness of a philosopher. Then maybe the coffee isn't for them anymore. Maybe it's for someone new who needs a friend. Amara looked surprised. Zoe, that's very wise. I learned it from you, Mama. You said when Daddy went to heaven, we had to make room in our hearts for new love, not to replace him, but to grow bigger. Daewon felt something shift inside his chest. Your daughter is remarkable, Amara. She gets that from her father, Amara said softly. He always saw the best in people, even when they couldn't see it themselves. Tell me about him, Daewon found himself asking. Amara's eyes grew distant but warm. Marcus was a teacher, elementary school. He used to say that every child was a universe waiting to be discovered. He could make the shyest kid laugh, help the angriest kid find peace. Zoe was his whole world. How did he... Heart attack. Completely unexpected. He was only 28. Amara's voice was steady, but Daewon could see the old pain in her eyes. One day we were planning Zoe's 4th birthday party, and the next... I'm sorry, Daewon said quietly. That must have been devastating. It was. But Zoe needed me to be strong, so I learned how to be. We moved here for a fresh start, new opportunities. Sometimes starting over is the only way to keep going. Daewon understood that feeling intimately. Yes, it is. Zoe, who had been listening quietly while coloring, suddenly looked up. Daewon, do you live by yourself? Yes, I do. In a big house? Yes. That must be lonely. Big houses have too many empty rooms. Our apartment is small, but it's cozy. Mama says cozy is better than empty. Daewon thought about his mansion. 30 rooms, most of which he never entered anymore. Your mama is right. You could come have dinner with us sometime, Zoe announced brightly. Mama makes the best spaghetti, and we always have enough for friends. Amara looked embarrassed. Zoe, I'm sure Daewon is very busy. Actually, Daewon interrupted, I would love that. If you're sure it's not too much trouble. It's no trouble at all, Amara said, though she looked nervous. But I should warn you, our place is very modest. Nothing fancy. I prefer modest to fancy, Daewon said honestly. As they made plans for dinner the following evening, Daewon's phone buzzed with increasingly urgent messages from Jin Woo. The Yamamoto family was making moves faster than expected. I'm sorry, he said, glancing at his phone. I need to take this call. He stepped outside, answering Jin Woo's call with a sharp, What? Boss, they hit the warehouse on 5th Street. Took out 3 of our guys. They're in the hospital. But they'll live. This is escalating fast. Any word on their next target? No, but boss, they've been asking questions about you. Personal questions. About where you go, who you see. Daewon's blood ran cold. What kind of questions? About your daily routine. About the cafe. Boss, I think they're watching you. Daewon looked through the cafe window at Amara and Zoe, who were laughing at something Zoe had drawn. The sight that had brought him such peace now filled him with terror. Increased security around the cafe. Discreet surveillance. And Jinwoo, I want a full security detail on Amara Johnson and her daughter. They don't know about it, and they never will. But I want them protected. Boss, are you sure that's wise? Getting civilians involved? They're not involved. They're innocent, and they stay that way. When Daewon returned to the table, Zoe immediately sensed his change in mood. You look scared again. Just work stress, little one. But Amara was studying him more carefully now. What kind of import-export business requires so many urgent phone calls? Daewon met her eyes, seeing the intelligence there, the growing suspicion. The complicated kind. Daewon, she said quietly, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. His heart stopped. What? Are you in some kind of trouble? Because if you are, and if being around us puts Zoe in any danger— No, Daewon said firmly. I would never put Zoe in danger. I would die before I let anything happen to either of you. The intensity of his response seemed to surprise them both. Amara searched his face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. I believe you, she said. But I'm a mother first, Daewon. Zoe's safety comes before everything else. I understand, and I respect that. As they prepared to leave, Zoe hugged Sunny tight and looked up at Daewon. Tomorrow we'll have spaghetti, and you won't be lonely anymore. I'm looking forward to it, Daewon said, though his heart was heavy with the knowledge that tomorrow might be the last time he could safely see them. After they left, Daewon sat alone with the 2 coffee cups. For the first time since he'd started this ritual, he pushed the second cup away. Some hopes were too dangerous to hold on to, but even as he made that decision, he knew it was already too late. Amara and Zoe had become more than hope. They'd become his reason for wanting to be a better man, and that made them the most dangerous thing in his world. The spaghetti dinner never happened. At 6:47 p.m., as Daewon was getting dressed to visit Amara and Zoe's apartment, Jinwoo burst into his mansion with news that changed everything. Boss, they took her. Daewon's blood turned to ice. What? Amara Johnson. She was leaving work at the hospital when they grabbed her. Professional job, 3 cars, coordinated timing. The Yamamoto family has her. The world tilted. And Zoe? Safe. She was at after-school care. Our guys picked her up and brought her here. She's in the kitchen with Mrs. Chen. Daewon's housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, had been with his family since before Minho was born. She was the only person he trusted with something so precious. They left this. Jinwoo handed him a note written in precise English. Mr. Kang, your new friends are lovely. We have the mother. Bring us the shipping manifest for the Busan routes and she lives. You have 24 hours. Come alone to Pier 47 at midnight tomorrow. Any tricks, any backup, and she dies. Why? Daewon crumpled the note, his hands shaking with rage. How did they know? They've been watching the cafe for weeks. They know about your routine, about the woman and her kid. Boss, this is exactly what we feared. Get me everything we have on their operation. Every safe house, every business, every person who works for them. I want options. Boss, you can't be thinking of going in alone. I'm thinking of doing whatever it takes to get her back. Day One walked to the kitchen, his heart pounding. Zoe sat at the massive marble island, her legs swinging from the tall stool, while Mrs. Chen made her a sandwich. The little girl looked tiny and lost in the enormous kitchen. Day One. Zoe's face lit up when she saw him. The nice lady said Mama had to work late, so I get to have a sleepover here. Is this your house? It's really big. Day One knelt down to her eye level, his heart breaking. Yes, this is my house. Are you okay, Zoe? I'm fine, but I'm worried about Mama. She never works this late without telling me, and she was supposed to make spaghetti for you tonight. I know, little one, but sometimes grown-ups have to handle unexpected things. Zoe studied his face with those perceptive eyes. You look really scared now, more scared than yesterday. Day One couldn't lie to her. I am scared, but I'm going to fix everything, okay? I promise. Can I help? I'm good at fixing things. Mama says I have magic hands. The innocence of the offer nearly broke him. You're already helping just by being brave. Can you do something very important for me? Yes. Can you stay here with Mrs. Chen and be very good? I need to go help your mama with something, but I'll bring her back to you. I promise. Zoe nodded solemnly. I'll be extra good, and I'll take care of Sunny. She held up the stuffed puppy he'd given her. That's perfect. Sunny will keep you safe while I'm gone. As Day One stood to leave, Zoe grabbed his hand. Day One? When you bring Mama back, can we still have spaghetti, all three of us together? The question hit him like a physical blow. I would like that very much, Zoe. In his study, Day One spread out maps and surveillance photos, while Jinwoo briefed him on the Yamamoto family's known locations. They're probably holding her at the warehouse district, Jinwoo said. It's isolated, easy to defend, multiple escape routes. No, Day One said quietly. They want me to come to Pier 47. They'll keep her somewhere they feel completely secure until then. The penthouse above their restaurant in International District. Too public. They need somewhere they can interrogate her without being heard. The implication hung heavy in the air. Day One's hands clenched into fists. Boss, let me take a team. We can hit multiple locations simultaneously. And if we guess wrong, she dies. No, this has to be surgical. Precise. Day One's phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Kang, a voice with a slight Japanese accent spoke. I trust you received our message. I want proof she's alive. Of course. As there was a pause, then Amara's voice came on the line, shaky but strong. Day One, don't do whatever they're asking. Zoe needs you to stay safe. Don't. The line went dead. Day One closed his eyes, her words echoing in his mind. Even in captivity, her first thought was protecting others. Jinwoo, I need you to prepare two things. First, a complete dossier on every member of the Yamamoto family, their businesses, their families, their weaknesses. Second, I need you to draw up legal papers transferring ownership of all my legitimate businesses to a trust fund for Zoe Johnson. Boss, what are you planning? I'm planning to end this, one way or another. And if something happens to you? What about the organization? Day One looked out the window toward the kitchen where Zoe was probably finishing her sandwich, trusting him to bring her mother home. The organization has taken enough from me. I won't let it take them too. That night, Day One sat in Minho's old bedroom, which he'd kept exactly as it was, toys still scattered on the floor, drawings still taped to the walls, the small bed still made with superhero sheets. I'm sorry, son, he whispered to the empty room. I know I promised to keep your memory alive by staying safe, but there's a little girl downstairs who needs her mother, and I can't fail another child. He pulled out his phone and recorded a video message. Zoe, if you're watching this, it means something happened to me. I want you to know that meeting you and your mother was the best thing that happened to me in a very long time. You reminded me what it felt like to be human again. The nice lawyers will explain about the trust fund. It will take care of you and your mama forever. Be brave, little one, and remember that your friend Day One loved you very much. At 11:30 p.m., Day One dressed in his best suit, the same one he'd worn to Minho's funeral. If tonight was his end, he would meet it with dignity. Jinwoo waited by the car, his face grim. Boss, please reconsider. Let me come with you. No. They'll be watching for backup. This is something I have to do alone. What if it's a trap? It is a trap, but sometimes you walk into the trap anyway, because the alternative is unacceptable. As they drove toward Pier 47, Daewon thought about the coffee cups, about Zoe's drawings, about the way Amara had looked at him like he was worth saving. For 2 years he'd been a ghost haunting his own life. Tonight, he would either reclaim his humanity or die trying. The pier was dark, fog rolling in from Puget Sound. Daewon walked alone toward the warehouse at the end, carrying a briefcase with the shipping manifests they'd demanded. "Mr. Kang," a voice called from the shadows. Right on time. 3 figures emerged from the darkness. Daewon recognized Kenji Yamamoto, the family's heir apparent. "Where is she?" "Safe, for now. Do you have what we asked for?" Daewon held up the briefcase. "The manifests, all of them. Now, let her go." Kenji smiled coldly. "I'm afraid it's not that simple. You see, we've realized that having leverage over you is more valuable than any shipping routes. The woman will remain our guest until you agree to work for us." That wasn't the deal. Deals change. You're in no position to negotiate. Daewon set down the briefcase and straightened his tie. "You're right. I'm not here to negotiate." "Then why are you here?" "To end this." The explosion lit up the night sky. The warehouse behind the Yamamoto family's restaurant had been their mistake. While Daewon kept them distracted at Pier 47, Jin-Woo and a carefully selected team had infiltrated their real stronghold. The explosion Daewon triggered at the pier, a small device hidden in the briefcase, was the signal for the simultaneous rescue operation. By the time the smoke cleared at the pier, Amara was free, and the Yamamoto family's leadership was in custody, turned over to federal authorities, along with evidence of their human trafficking operations. "How did you know where she was?" Jin-Woo asked as they drove back to the mansion. "Kenji's arrogance," Daewon replied, his arm around a shaken but unharmed Amara. "He couldn't resist keeping her close to home where he felt powerful. It's what I would have done 2 years ago." "And now?" Daewon looked at Amara, who was anxiously asking about Zoe for the 10th time. "Now I know that real power isn't about control, it's about protection." At the mansion, the reunion between Amara and Zoe was everything Daewon had hoped for. The little girl launched herself into her mother's arms, tears streaming down both their faces. "Mama, I knew Daewon would bring you back. I told Mrs. Chen he always keeps his promises." "Yes, baby, he does," Amara said, looking at Daewon over her daughter's head, with an expression of gratitude so deep it took his breath away. Later, after Zoe had fallen asleep in one of the guest rooms, Daewon and Amara sat in his study. She cradled a cup of tea, her hands finally steady. "I know who you are now," she said quietly. "What you are." Daewon's heart clenched. And I understand why you tried to stay away from us, why you looked so conflicted every time we met." "Amara, let me finish." She set down her tea and looked directly at him. "What you do, the world you live in, it's dangerous, it's violent, it's everything I've tried to protect Zoe from." Daewon nodded, preparing for the rejection he knew was coming. "But," she continued, "the man who sat with us in that cafe, who bought my daughter a stuffed animal, who listened to her stories and made her laugh, that man is good. That man risked everything to save someone he barely knew. That man is the one I'm talking to now. They're the same person, Amara. I can't separate them. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to choose which one you want to be going forward." The question hung in the air between them. "I've already chosen," Daewon said softly. "I'm getting out, all of it. Jin-Woo will take over the legitimate businesses, and the rest ends with me." "Just like that?" "It won't be easy. There will be consequences, enemies who won't accept my retirement, but I have something worth fighting for now, something worth changing for." Amara was quiet for a long moment. "What happens now? Between us, I mean." "I don't know," Daewon admitted. "I know I love you, both of you. I know that these past few days have been the first time I felt alive since my family died, but I also know that loving me comes with risks. Everything worth having comes with risks, even for Zoe." Amara smiled softly. "Especially for Zoe. She needs to see that love is possible, that families can be built in unexpected ways, that good people sometimes come in complicated packages. Are you saying—" "I'm saying that when Zoe wakes up tomorrow morning, she's going to ask if we can still have that spaghetti dinner, and I'm going to tell her yes." Daewon felt something break open in his chest, not the painful breaking of loss, but the hopeful breaking of new growth. I love you, Amara Johnson. I love you too, Daewon Kang. All of you. Even the parts that scare me. When they kissed, it tasted like coffee and second chances. 6 months later, the Moonlight Cafe had become their place in a different way now. Instead of the lonely ritual of 2 coffee cups, Daewon now came here every Sunday morning with his new family. Amara sat across from him, reading the newspaper and occasionally stealing bites of his pastry. Zoe was at the counter, charming the baristas as she helped them arrange the display case, a job she'd appointed herself to after declaring that the cookies looked sad all alone. "Daewon," she called out, "Mrs. Kim says I can help make the hot chocolate today with real marshmallows." "That sounds wonderful, little one. Just don't eat all the marshmallows before they make it into the drinks." Zoe giggled and skipped back to the counter, Sunny the stuffed puppy tucked under her arm as always. "She's happy," Amara observed, watching their daughter with soft eyes. "So are you," Daewon replied. "It shows. So are you. You smile now. Real smiles, not the polite ones you used to give." It was true. The transition out of his old life had been challenging. There had been threats, negotiations, careful maneuvering to ensure his exit didn't destabilize the entire organization. But Jin Woo had proven himself capable, and the legitimate businesses were thriving under new management. Daewon now ran a foundation that provided support for families affected by violence, a way to use his resources and connections for healing instead of harm. It was work that felt like redemption. "Any regrets?" Amara asked, as if reading his thoughts. "Only one," Daewon said seriously. "What's that?" "I regret that it took me so long to order 3 drinks instead of 2. Amara laughed, the sound bright and free. "Well, you're making up for lost time now." Indeed, their table now held 3 cups. Coffee for him, tea for her, and hot chocolate for Zoe. The ritual had evolved from memorial to celebration, from solitude to family. "Mama, Daewon!" Zoe bounced back to the table, her face bright with excitement. "I have an idea." "What's your idea, sweetheart?" Amara asked. "What if we adopt more people for our family? Like Mrs. Chen, she makes the best cookies, and she's lonely in that big kitchen. And Jin Woo, he's always working and never has anyone to eat dinner with. We could have a really big family." Daewon and Amara exchanged amused glances. "That's a beautiful idea, Zoe," Daewon said. "But families aren't just about living in the same house. They're about loving each other and taking care of each other. But we already do that. Mrs. Chen loves us, and we love her. And Jin Woo always asks about me when he calls you. That sounds like family to me." "You know what?" Amara said, reaching over to smooth Zoe's hair. "You're absolutely right. Family is about love, not blood. So we can have Sunday dinners for everyone?" "I think that's a wonderful idea," Daewon agreed. As they prepared to leave, Zoe ran ahead to the car while Amara and Daewon walked slowly, hands intertwined. "Do you ever think about them?" Amara asked gently. "Your first family?" "Every day," Daewon replied honestly, "but it doesn't hurt the way it used to. I think they would be happy that I found love again, that I found you both. I think they would be proud of the man you've become. I hope so. I'm trying to be worthy of this second chance. You already are." In the car, Zoe chatted about her plans for their Sunday family dinner, listing all the people she wanted to invite and what foods they should serve. Her enthusiasm was infectious, filling the car with laughter and warmth. As they drove home to the mansion that was no longer empty, Daewon thought about the coffee cups that had started it all. 2 cups representing loss and hope. Now 3 cups representing love and family, and the beautiful complexity of starting over. "Daewon?" Zoe's voice came from the back seat. "Yes, little one. When I grow up and have my own family, I want to be just like you and Mama. I want to love people so much that it makes them feel safe." Daewon met Amara's eyes in the rearview mirror, both of them blinking back tears. "That's the most beautiful thing anyone has ever said to me, Zoe. It's true, though. Before we met you, I was sad because I missed Daddy. And Mama was sad too, even though she tried to hide it. But now we're happy again. You fixed our sadness. You fixed mine too, sweetheart. You both did." As they pulled into the driveway of their home, Daewon realized that the ritual of the coffee cups had served its purpose. It had kept him hoping just long enough for hope to find him in the form of a curious little girl and her brave mother. Some stories end with loss, others begin with it. The best stories, the ones worth living, transform loss into love, solitude into family, and endings into beautiful new beginnings. The end.